Moving on to the next talk, the WMO Satellite Data Requirements Group. It will be presented by Marcial Garbanzo from the University of Costa Rica, as well as from Diego Souza from the National Institute for Space Research from Brazil. Hello, everyone. Are you there, Diego and Marcial?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great.
All right, passing it on to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Diego Souza from NPE, the Brazilian National Institute for Space Research. It's really great to be able to join this workshop with you all. So thank you very much for the invitation, and I really appreciate that. And in this presentation, we are going to introduce the WMO Coordination Group on Satellite Data Requirements, also known as the SDR Group, where users in our region may express their satellite data needs. I'm one of the co-chairs of this group, and I would like to acknowledge my colleague, Marcial Garbanzo, professor from the University of Costa Rica, and he is the other co-chair of this group. Today, we're going to see what the SDR group is, its mission, and we will see some examples of how the group works and how you and your institutions may get engaged in the group's activities. All right, basically, the mission of the SDR group is to act as a bridge, the connection between the satellite operators and satellite data users, and to facilitate the use of satellite data throughout the region, from data requirements, data utilization, and all the steps in between. So the goal of this group is to facilitate the interaction between you, satellite data users, and the satellite operators like NOAA or CONAI from Argentina or NPE from Brazil, and also other agencies around the world. WMO established these regional groups so members can express their requirements for specific satellite data. And the SDR group is this coordination group for WMO's regional associations 3 and 4, that is the Americas and the Caribbean. But there are similar groups in other regions with different names, like RADAG for Africa, ETSOA for Asia, ETSAT group for the Southwest Pacific region. And those are basically the same. And here we have a timeline with a high-level overview of the group's history. The group has been idealized between 2009 and 2011. And in 2013, it received the formal endorsement from the regional associations 3 and 4. And since then, the group has been working to meet the regional data requirements. And until now, we have worked on 39 actions and recommendations, resulting from 5 face-to-face meetings and discussed in 34 conferences using information from 4 regional surveys. This is just a quick overview, and for a complete presentation on the group's history, you may access the group's webpage. And there you also may check the group's terms of reference, a list of members, the data access mechanisms used by the community, the actions and recommendations, the minutes of each one of the 34 teleconferences, the presentations from all face-to-face meetings, task forces, workshops, and other supporting documents, as this one here, quick guide which is available in English, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese, with some essential information about the SDR group, okay? And to have a good level, right, of coordination in our region, this group meets at least every 2 years in person, and we work through teleconferences between these face-to-face meetings. So here you have some photos from the 5 face-to-face meetings we've had until now, from 2015, 16, 17, 19, and 2022. All the achievements and topics discussed during each one of these meetings. We will not mention all of them today, but these slides with all the links are already available on CIMH Moodle for your reference. All right, so this was a very brief introduction of the SDR group. Now let's see some examples of actions or activities encouraged by this group. And among them we have effective user-provider dialogue, knowing the community and its needs, preparing the community for future generation of meteorological satellites, providing support on data access, processing, visualization, and usage, engagement with other global and regional initiatives, and one very, very important activity, which is the core of this group, share our experiences, these mutual exchange, as Rodney mentioned. And in this presentation, you hear a lot about sharing knowledge and providing examples and case studies. How the experts in the region are doing things so others can replicate in their own institutions. Okay, let's see some examples. First of all, it's very important to know what the community is actually being able to use, which satellites, which data access mechanisms, which products, and which applications. And by knowing this, we can work on specific actions, as we are going to see. And based on our interaction throughout these years, the group was able to document most of the satellite received stations in our community for both GEO and LEO satellites, as we can see here. On the left, you have the GRB stations that receive GOES-R data outside the US. And on the right, HRD, right, high-grade data stations receiving information from LEO satellites. Also, the group was able to document all the GeoNetcast Americas stations. And some of you already know, and we have some GNC stations in the Caribbean. Through GeoNetcast, users may receive data and products from multiple satellites from different satellite data providers. We will not give much detail now because we will have a discussion on GeoNetcast during the workshop this Thursday. But the important thing is that the SDR group is able to provide support for GNC users as well. And the content of the system has been a topic of discussion during many of the SDR meetings in the past. And apart from the receive mechanisms that use antennas, as we have seen, when considering the community in general, not only institutions, internet data access is really important for, as we may see here in the results of the regional survey distributed by the SDR group in 2022. For GOES East, GOES West, Meteosat, and LEO satellites, we see that internet data access has a major role. And that is why we are constantly covering internet data access during training events, as we are going to see this Friday during the session on training resources. And talking about surveys, on the last survey distributed by the SDR group, we received more than 200 answers, 200 responses from 35 countries. So we have a very nice network. And from these answers, we had a very clear picture of many aspects on the usage of satellite data in our region, including which mechanisms are used, which satellites are mostly used, which products are mostly used, and how frequently they are used, and what the training needs are. So knowing our community is a very important characteristic of this group. But apart from knowing the present, it's also important to prepare for the future. User readiness. Some years before GOES 16 was launched, the SDR group started working with a great support from NOAA, as always, to prepare the community for GOES-R. And the group created a roadmap and worked on different actions to support members during this transition, listing the satellite vendor systems, the technical specifications of receive stations, how to access GOES-R data from the cloud, which data sets would be available on GeoNetcast, and much more. And this transition was very successful, as many members were able to access GOES-R data since the beginning, back in 2017. And the same thing is happening right now for GeoXO, the future generation of GEO satellites. But this time, NOAA started this collaboration with the SDR group much earlier. 12 years before launch, in 2020, NOAA organized a community meeting providing preliminary details of this future mission. And 10 years before launch, in our 5th meeting in 2022, NOAA presented the timelines, mission needs, planning capabilities, differences between GOES-R and GeoXO, and the preliminary data delivery mechanisms. And after that, the SDR group organized a Q&A session with NOAA, and members from the community had the opportunity to clarify some aspects of this future mission, make their own suggestions, and discuss the future plans. And this was a very nice example of early preparation. And this interaction also happens with other satellite operators, like in this recent example from last year, where one of the SDR members from Mexico requested the assistance of the SDR group because they needed SAR data to deliver information about the flooded regions in Mexico as a result of Hurricane Otis. And for that particular date, there was data available from Salcon, LEO satellite operated by TONAI from Argentina. And the SDR group facilitated this user-provider contact. And in less than 24 hours since the initial request, data was already being processed by our colleagues from Mexico. Also, where I work, is one of the regional satellite operators. And among the satellites operated here are Cibers and Amazonia. And these data sets are freely available for the community as well. And during the next SDR teleconference in a couple of weeks, one of my colleagues here will present this mission and also present an overview of the disaster charter, which is a very, very important initiative where satellite data is made available for disaster management. And NPAY will take over the charter leadership role this year. So we expect to keep the community well informed about this initiative. Now talking a little bit about data processing and visualization. This is also very important. And there is a task force created by the SDR group where we have right now 17 participants from 10 countries that are experts from the region. And we periodically organize virtual meetings to discuss our latest advancements, including algorithms and technologies for satellite data processing and visualization. And here we have one of the examples we have worked together, in this case, discussing how to generate the GLN gridded products, which are very important, but for some reason was not widely used outside the US. So we have created a repository, created some basic examples, shared our codes, and after that, thankfully, our colleagues were able to reproduce that processing scheme in their institutions, as in this example from Argentina. The same happens with data visualization, where each member of this task force presents how they are visualizing satellite data and how other members can try to do the same. In this example, my colleague Douglas from NPAY, he presented how we developed the DSAT tool, which is an interface to visualize GO16 data. And he presented the open source tools used to create this interface and how others could replicate that. And we shared this recording and resources with the community, and the first results are appearing, as you can see in this video, where a student from an university is managing to create his own version of DSAT to process local data. And this is basically the idea of this group. Share our experiences, engage the satellite community with different initiatives, like we are seeing here. And the group is always informing its members about what is going on at regional and global levels, and how they can contribute to and benefit from these different initiatives based related to meteorological satellites. And talking about initiatives, this is another very important one, which is the Latin America Meteorological Satellite, which the SDR group is directly involved. And basically, in South America, for the WMO Regional Association 3, it is one of the regions that do not have a geosatellite developed and operated in the region. The region is very experienced with LEO satellites, the operation of LEO satellites, but not GEO. So this working group is carrying out studies and evaluations for the possible development of a GEO satellite in Latin America, and the SDR group is providing information regarding which products or instruments would be a priority in this possible mission. And to finish this presentation, this is one of the recent efforts from the SDR group, which is organizing virtual workshops. And the first one happened on May 16th, and we covered satellite data access from the cloud. And the idea here is basically the same: making connections, know who the experts are, share their experiences, and so the community can try to reproduce what they are seeing in their own institutions. And this first workshop was very, very successful with 130 participants. And our second workshop is already scheduled for July 25. And we will see some examples of satellite data being used to monitor hazards. And in this workshop, our colleagues will present how they are using satellite information to monitor floods, fires, severe storms, frost, snowstorms, volcanic ash, tropical cyclones, and landslides. And our next teleconference is scheduled for 17 June, 14 UTC. And this is the preliminary agenda. NOAA will provide the latest updates on GOES-R, GeoXO, JPSS, and GeoNetcast. WMO will provide some updates on recent initiatives like the early warnings for all. And Pay will present an overview of the disaster charter. And we will hear some updates from the community. And we invite everyone to join us if your country is not, especially if your country is not a member of the SDR group. And as we are going to hear during the next SDR teleconference, another very important task this group will conduct on the next months is the contest of the early warnings for all initiative. Is a gap analysis in terms of satellite data recommended to monitor different meteorological hazards as identified as priority hazards for both regional associations 4 and regional association 3. And to do that, we will organize several meetings with the regional experts, discuss the best satellite data available to monitor each hazard. That's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to join the SDR group or any of its task teams and share your work with the community, you may send me and Marcial an email. Okay? Thank you very much. Obrigado, and I wish a wonderful workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all this great information. And honestly, if anyone would like to join, we have their emails there. We'll probably share them in the chat as well so that participants who are interested can get in contact. I see that it's 9:48. If maybe we have a chance for one quick question. Is there anyone of the participants who might have a question? I don't immediately see one, so I think we're good. All right, well, again, Marcial and Diego, thank you so much for all the great information.
Thank you.